I think, depending on how this goes, I'm going to probably upload this directly to YouTube.
Okay.
And then, depending on how it goes, I may edit the audio for another show that I have called On the Inside Track. And that show is audio. It's part of a podcast and well, part of two different podcasts, one for ACB Radio and my own. I think I'm still calling it Heart Connections podcast, but the subtitle for On the Inside Track is Defining Moments from There to Here.
Oh, that's really deep.
Isn't it? Isn't it? But I know that you and I are fascinated with how people, oh gosh, woke up or
Hmm.
came to
Yeah.
certain choices. You know, like how do people find and follow certain callings or certain inner nudges that help them decide, you know, I was
Mhm.
doing this yesterday, but now I feel nudged to go in a different direction. And you are someone who has really done this.
Oh my God. It feels like it was at gunpoint. And it's so funny because it's like when you're going through it, you can't see that. All you see is the tornado. You don't see the gift.
You know, and I have said this many times to people who think that they're not successful and they think they compare themselves to other people and they think, oh, so and so is successful. And I said, you know, most people who are successful don't necessarily feel great or like everything is smooth sailing in their successfulness. They're
Mhm.
just doing what they're doing, but it's, you know, it's not, certainly not always smooth sailing, but it's not even always easy or non-messy perfect when someone is even being successful. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about perspective. And I remember my growing up, I lived in a very abusive home, and the neighbors used to look at us like, oh, well, what are you complaining about? Your life is perfect. I mean, it was the prettiest house on the block. We were always very nicely dressed because my father was a control freak, and nobody knew the level of abuse we were enduring. But to the outside, we looked perfect. You have, quote unquote, everything. Well, you don't know the hell that's on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's all about perspective, but also in moments where that's why it's so important to be in the now moment, because when you're, quote unquote, successful, even when life is good, quote unquote, because I don't think you ever get satiated
Mhm.
with, it's never good enough. There's always this driving force of especially if you're an ambitious person, and the more ambitious you are, well, you're constantly seeking like knowledge. When is there enough knowledge? Never. It's or enough God, enough source, enough love? Never. It's just infinite. You just want more and more. And I feel like that's why it's so important that we have to catch ourselves and be in the now moment and look around, take stock of where I am, what I have, whatever it is, however small or big, whatever it is, because you're never going to get this moment back,
This moment.
and,
Yeah.
and appreciate just, oh, whatever. I got to hug my kid today,
Mm.
or I laughed, or I saw a puppy, whatever, anything, because it's a gift. And then when you look back and remember, oh, I wish I would have appreciated that moment more. Like a newborn child, you're like, oh, when are you going to sleep through the night? And now I wish I had my son that tiny. Oh, I miss his little body on my chest, and just things like that. That
What
at the time you were lamenting it, and now you're like, oh, I wish I could go back.
and what do you think? I think there's something wonderful we can do and should do with those feelings when we feel that, oh, I wish I had done that. What can we do about that now?
I don't think that there's well, number one, learn, because There are no mistakes if you learn something. If you look back and you wish you could have done it different, tweak it somehow, well, implement that in your daily life. Like from this moment on, that won't happen again, not on my watch, because now I know. It's like before, okay, I didn't know. So you can't beat yourself up for not knowing something. You just
Right.
didn't know.
Right.
But
Wow.
but from this moment forward, now I know.
Exactly. What a great way to bring that forward. And I wonder, when you describe how people thought that you had it made back then, what are you upset about? You had it made. Do you think, I mean, we've gotten smarter, but do you think at all that more people have gotten smarter in a sort of collective sense at all? Do you think that more people are knowing at all to look beyond the surface?
I do, and I don't think it's a mental thing. I think it's an empathic thing. Like our feelings are smarter. Like I think we're picking up more information
Mm,
uh, with our emotions, and kind of like when you walk into a room and the people that were in there are having an argument or something, you don't even have to hear words exchanged. You
mm.
can just feel that energy, like, whoa, something's going down. I don't know what, but I need to get out of here,
They'll
you
say,
know?
yeah, it's so thick in there. The tension is so thick.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of our perspectives are widening because of that new skill. Like with my right now the veil is so thin, and a lot of friends of mine, relatives, I'm seeing them discovering their abilities, as am I'm discovering things that I didn't know that I could do before, and some are old things that I could do that I didn't know like the name for it or what it was until I watched, like, maybe say an interview and somebody's discussing it, or I read something and then I think, oh, that's what that is. I didn't know that I could do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, I mean, I'm realizing that a lot of us are really tuning in, and we have abilities, whether we're awake or aware of it or not.
Hmm.
You have them. You may not pay attention to it. You may not know what it's called. You may not, really respect it, or maybe you fear it, but you have it. And I think that a lot of us are getting information in more way than just mentally. It's coming in emotionally,
Yeah.
in dreams, in just like an intuitive sixth sense.
And synchronicities. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
huge
Hmm. I
information.
love those.
I know. And you and I and Shane and some of us talk about the numbers. I mean, I had 555 yesterday. You had it,
Ah, I've
right?
been having it for so much. Yeah, for so long. And part of me it gets excited, like, ooh, 555, that means big change. And
Mm.
then, like, uh not necessarily, like, it could just mean a change in, I think we're waiting for the physical so much. We keep waiting for it to be a physical manifestation, but it could be a change in your perspective, a change in your beliefs, a change, a different energy.
And I take, when I get those numbers, synchronicities, I take it to mean, haha, hi there. We, we're here. We've got you, whoever the we is.
Oh, yes.
For some it's extraterrestrials, for some it's our higher self, and a whole team. For me, it's like a whole
A
team.
team, absolutely. Yeah, why stop there? There's no limit. It's
Right.
everybody.
Yeah, I don't need to name them or categorize them.
Right. And the more the merrier. And quite frankly, if you really think about it, those of us that are waking up right now with everything that's going on, like, we're the way showers. We are on the front lines, boots on the ground, because we are being prepared for a very monumental task. And it's not for the weak-hearted or weak-minded. I mean, this is a big deal, and we're waking up first for a reason. and we're going to help the masses. They need us. We're all important. We all play a part, and it's happening for a reason.
And yeah, and I think they need us, right now, even though
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
things haven't happened. I know that if people are knowing what I believe and how deeply and strongly I believe, like in source, in ever-present spirituality and things like that, and then I sit around and get crabby or complain or things like that, I'm given mixed messages. And so to clean up and
Right.
do my best to get congruence between what what we're saying we believe and how we behave, basically.
Right. And then it seems like it's kind of a, you're doing two things at once. You're emptying your vessel of the old junk
Mm.
that's not true, but you're also bringing in more light. But where it's like we don't get a break anymore. Before, I remember like last year and even at the beginning of this year, the energy was intense, but there was more of a lull in between when you would release or purge, and then you had like a little break and you could integrate. Now it's like boom, 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 back to back, simultaneous, and it's like okay, purge and integrate at the same time.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm falling apart in a way, but I'm also being called to help, to
Yep.
uplift someone at the same time. And I found that the messages that I'm giving to others when I help is the message that I need to hear. And that's fascinating how
Yeah.
it applies to both of us, but different things are happening in each of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. So when you were growing up, and you mentioned a little bit about all of that, but were there little kind of windows that gave you a feeling of, what is this, or who am I beyond this? Uh, were there little windows or moments?
I always felt old, even when I was a little kid. I felt very mature. I mean, I am the oldest of four,
Mhm.
but even when I wasn't, when there wasn't four of us and it was just me and my little sister, she's 2 years younger than me. When it was just us two, I always felt like an adult, but in a little kid body, like very serious, very, I can't explain it. I just felt old
Mhm.
and not, I guess not so lighthearted, not so like I was very serious, and I knew that I was here for something important. And I always had a very clear, strong connection to God, to Source. And I can't explain it because I mean, it was just a knowing, just a connection. And then we grew up Catholic and we were forced to go to catechism and all that. And I enjoyed catechism. I enjoyed learning. I like the romance and the tradition of the religion, but there were a lot of things that I didn't agree with, and I saw a lot of do as I say, not as I do, and I that didn't make any sense to me. So I questioned that a lot. I would ask my parents, and they would just shush me, and they didn't know. I think that they felt uncomfortable because number one, you don't question, the priest. You just don't do that. It's be quiet, keep your head down, just take the orders and don't question anything. This is what the book says, and this is what we do. You don't question.
Yeah, yeah, and especially we don't question those who also feel insecure about what they don't know. you know?
Right, right. But I was doing it. I thought I was in a safe environment. We were getting abused, but we didn't know it was abuse. We thought that's life. That's what happens at every house. We didn't know.
Right.
So we, my dad would have a fit if we questioned anything about the church, and so then I just learned, okay, be quiet. I can't say that because it makes him mad. So then I just kept it to myself. But I always wondered, well, even as little kid, what, you're like 8 or 9 in catechism, and wondering, like, why are they telling me that we have to give money? Why are they telling me that we have to go to church on a Sunday? And then only a Sunday. That was weird to me, because I thought, uh, why just that day? Or, like, who said, like, where did this come from? Just questioning everything. And then, like, God's not in this building, because you would be, they would like make a spectacle out of you if you didn't go. So it felt like, whoa, you're sinning by not going. And that made no sense to me, because I thought God is everywhere. God is at the park, in my yard, at home.
So you had that. So, and I know you're highly intuitive, just naturally. Was that there way back?
It was. We, as a child myself, it's me, and I have 3 sisters that are younger. We're being sexually abused by my father. And when I was a little kid, I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't articulate it. I mean, when you're a child, and I mean, now children are bombarded with sex everywhere, in cartoons. There's innuendos. It's everywhere in the music. Back then, it wasn't like that. And I mean, I was born in 73, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And I mean, it was there, but it was more hidden, more, subliminal. It wasn't like bam, like it is now. So you weren't, choked with it. And so I didn't understand what sexuality was and all that. I didn't know anything about that. We never got to talk. I mean, we didn't have the birds and the bees talk, none of that. So very ignorant. And I remember I could feel things that I thought were mine, but I was picking up on my mom, and I was picking up on my dad. I was feeling their feelings. I was feeling the neighbors' feelings. I was feeling people that walked by, and I didn't understand what all these emotions were, because they were things that a child would not feel. A child would, I didn't even know what it was. It was just so weird. And then I would get visions. I would get visions of like feeling naked, but only around my father. I wouldn't feel that around my mom, around grandparents, other relatives. So then I associated that feeling with him. And I didn't know why I was feeling like that. Now, as an adult, now I'm like, oh, that's why. But how, like I said, things that I've done forever, but I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have a label for it. I didn't have a context for it. So I didn't know what it was. I just thought, well, that's what everybody does. That's what, that's how it is. Kind of like when you smell something and you just take smelling for granted because you can smell. You think everybody can smell. Well, no, there's a lot of people that can't.
Right. I think that is something that a lot of people really need help with. They have a sense of something. They know maybe that they're not happy because of something, or they're struggling with something, and they don't know how to name it. And, in some cases, I think we've got too many labels, but I think what labels serve a purpose is for to give something a name and give a starting place, and then go forward from there beyond that label.
Right. Right. And to guide you in a direction to investigate, because we should always investigate everything. I mean, I teach my children, question everything. Like, of course, you're going to be, uh, you're going to be nice. You're not going to be rude. You're going to, show respect always. And you're not going to talk back or sass your teachers or anybody. But in your mind, question things like, teachers, doctors, policemen, they're just people. I mean, I was in law enforcement. You're just a person. And if you're having a bad day, it's going to show in everything you do. And some cops, some teachers, some doctors are dumb. I mean, just because they have a degree or a title, that means absolutely nothing, because I've met some really dumb people, and common sense is not common.
Yeah, right.
And if you have common sense, what a gift. Oh my goodness, what a gift. Because that right there, whoa, that that saves, that's like a PhD in and of itself, because
Well,
that will guide you always.
a lot of people won't ask, why are you wanting me to take this medication? Or what is this? Or
Right.
why is, they're afraid, and sometimes they're afraid because they're insecure. And sometimes that means they're afraid they're going to get in trouble or get scolded. How dare you ask? But sometimes it's also, well, everybody knows that. What do you mean you don't know? And so I think sometimes people are afraid for a couple of different reasons, and yet sometimes someone can ask a question and other people will say, thank you, I really wondered that, or
Mm.
that's something I didn't know and wondered. So yeah, so now you went into law enforcement, and I know there's a whole big story with that, and I know you've already shared some of that in different places, but I wonder, how did you happen to go into that? Was that just a job, or was that something you wanted to do, or?
It's so interesting how, in like I said, in looking back, things that I've done that I didn't know that I could do or was doing, it's so crazy how life works. And, we live it forward, we understand it backward. And I remember every job that I've ever had, and I mean, I've had a variety of different jobs. I've been working since I was 16, and every job that I've had, I always wondered about it first and fantasized. Like, I wonder what it would be like to wear a uniform. I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it would be like to be with a cop. I wonder what that's like. And how funny that that's exactly what happened to me. And I remember wondering, and then in hindsight, seeing I married a cop, I wore the uniform, I was in that life, and how crazy, that's how magical life is. And see how powerful that we are. Bless you. How powerful that we are, that we can manifest, and our words and our thoughts are powerful, because that's proof. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was saying. I was just fantasizing, wondering, like, what's that like? And then boom, it happens. So uh, this is a very small town in southern Arizona, and it's on the border near Mexico.
Mhm.
And I'm not from here. I'm from Chicago, clear across the country, big city. Never anything with the country. I mean, just on vacations when I was a kid, and we'd go visit family members in other places. But other than that, I mean, city life. And coming here, I came here with my first husband, and his family's from here. So quite frankly, it wasn't because of, ooh, that's my dream. It was out of necessity to support my young family. I had two toddlers. And for that specific job, you did not need anything special. It was on the job training,
Mhm.
kind of like life. Or waking up, ascension, spirituality, it's on the job training. So
Yes.
it's their philosophy, and I'm sure it varies by department, but here, I guess, because it's so small, and their retention is very low. That job is not for everyone. You work crazy hours. It's very, very stressful. You have to think super fast on your feet, and you have people's lives in your hands. So not anybody could do it. Or even if you could, they don't want to. They would just leave. Like, they could not keep people because of the stress and the hours. You never sleep. Your circadian rhythm is completely off, because, okay, you're on nights now. Okay, you're on days now. Okay, you're on swings now. So you can never get into a routine. It's always like topsy-turvy. So I got into the job out of necessity, but now I can see spirit's bigger plan for me. It felt like that job was training for spirituality and ascension, and what we're going through now, the awakening and helping others, because it really gave me specific training to deal with chaotic scenarios.
Mhm.
And and I often fall back on my training now with what I'm experiencing, because A lot of people, I don't know if you can relate, but when you wake up, uh, your vibration rises so high that the rest of your life no longer matches that frequency. So it begins to fall away. And that's what happened to me. Kind of like if you're laying down and you have a bunch of blankets on you and you stand up and they all fall off.
Yep.
And there goes your life. Whoops, there goes my friends. There goes my marriage. There goes my job. There goes, all these things just falling away. And me standing there thinking like, what am I doing? Am I repelling them? Like, what's going on? Well, you're waking up and they no longer are a vibrational match. So they need to leave because you are ascending and you're on a higher rung on the ladder. And now you need to attract new experiences and new people that will match this new journey, this new you. We're
Yeah.
being reborn.
Well, and if we really try to hold on to all of the old, it's just going to further distract us and keep us from moving forward.
And it's painful. like having a baby. If you try to hold that kid in, it's going to hurt more and they're going to do more damage coming out because they're coming out one way or the other. So you just can't. I mean, it's I think your entire system, it's a mind, body, spirit connection. So first you decide, and then like the rest of you has to catch up. But it is a process because like grieving, there is a natural grieving process that you have to go through. You don't want to. I mean, we do everything to numb ourselves so that we don't feel pain. I mean, we feed ourselves, we alcohol ourselves, drug, etc. And you just want to numb. But no, it's a very, sacred part of the process that you have to honor that portion so that you can completely heal and then move on and receive new, because you won't appreciate new until you get all that old junk out first.
I would imagine that one of the real strengths that you honed in that job was to help people know when they're telling the truth or when they're hearing the truth. When Because really, a lot of people are going to be met with hearing a lot of things that they've believed in that are not true and learning a lot of new truths. So I would think that, that kind of honing, I imagine that really honed your intuition quite a bit too.
Oh, absolutely. There's and a lot of it is about perspective. Hearing you say that makes me immediately think of perspective. There was this one call that I got. I answered the 911. So everything, I mean, nobody calls when they're having a great day. Everybody calls when they're at their worst in their life. And this lady called and she was freaking out. It was the middle of the night, probably 2, 3 a.m. And she's home alone with her 2 small children and her husband's out of town. So I'm assuming that she was probably already fearful in that state of mind because the husband wasn't home. So she felt maybe afraid to be home alone, or she didn't like sleeping alone. I'm not sure, but I can imagine she was already in that mindset to invite this scenario into her life. So she's calling, freaking out, saying that somebody's breaking into her house and that she's home alone. Her husband's out of town. It's just her and her babies. And she's so scared. So my job is to calm her down so that I can get information from her, because when people are really afraid, they can't think, they freeze completely. So I have to talk to her like I'm talking to a child and calm her down, de-escalate. And then, okay, where do you live? What's your address? What room are you in? And then visualizing in my head, the layout of her house. Where are you in proximity to wherever the danger is, and things like that. And then telling her where to go, lock yourself in, have both your kids with you. What can you see? What can you hear? Keep me updated, keep the police updated. So you're juggling multiple things at the same time, but very calmly, because then I have to think, and I can't think if I allow myself to go into the crazy mindset that she's in. So I
Mhm.
have to be the calm one to hold space for her. And then it's okay, you know, we're here. I'm here with you, making her feel like I'm in the room with her.
Yeah.
And so at one point, I had to yell at her and tell her, you need to stop freaking out. Your kids are watching you and they dictate their reaction to however mommy is reacting. And you need to play it super calm for them. She had those poor kids so scared that they started throwing up on her. I could hear them vomiting on her from the fear because she kept saying things like, oh my God, and just like really freaking out and just saying horrible things, saying that she's going to die and that they're going to murder her. And I'm like, stop saying that. So I had to yell at her.
Was there
So
someone outside? I mean, was she really hearing it?
I could hear noises. She could hear them. In her mind, they're going to kill me. That's what she thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to calm her down and like, look, no matter what is happening for those kids, you need to put on your game face and calm them down because you're mommy and that is your job. My job is to calm you down, but then to have everybody calm. And I go, and not only for that, for her own safety, because if somebody really is breaking into your home to kill you, do you want them to know where you are? No. So you need to be very still and very quiet until I tell you it's okay to talk and stand up because the police is inside your house.
So
Then you can come out.
you
So I
already
had to calm her.
way. You already had them on the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm doing like both things at the same time, calming her, updating the police, trying to find out where they are, letting her know, okay, they're on your block, they're looking for your address. Do you know what it turned out to be, Debbie? Oh my goodness. It was javelinas. I don't know if you have javelinas out there, but we have them out here in the Southwest. It's a wild pig. It's a
Oh
boar.
no.
They were rummaging through her garbage because her can was overflowing and they managed to rip a bag of food open. And they invited, I guess, several of their herds, like, hey, there's food over here. So they were having a party in her garbage cans, and her garbage cans are metal, and they were banging. It just so happened to fall that I guess it was pitted up against her front door, and every time they dug with their snout, they would bang the front door.
Oh
So
God.
this woman is in her mind imagining a murder scene,
Mm-hmm.
a bloodbath, and it was javelinas.
Oh,
And look at what she did to her children. But
absolutely.
do you see, this is what fear will do to you. It will lie to you every single time because it seeks to multiply itself. It wants to make itself bigger like a virus.
Yeah.
And it's all about perspective because she was so sure it was this horrible, ugly thing. And she was so wrong. It was something so innocent. And yeah, annoying because they got your garbage everywhere. But I mean, they're hungry.
What a great client that would have been for you today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my
But see,
God.
I have a million of those stories
Oh,
and how funny. Thank God. I'm so grateful that it was that because certainly had people call in and it's the other one. I've had that too. So, I mean, you never know, but see, that's another message. Appreciate where you are right now because it's not so bad. It's not
right.
so bad.
Oh yeah. It's not so bad. And there could be a time in which, we look back. I mean, like you already said, but it could be even bigger where we look back and
Oh,
go,
yeah.
wow, that was
Yeah. Yeah. And so that job has helped me now because everything is falling away from me. Like, who am I? I'm not, I don't, wear that uniform anymore. I don't have that label anymore. Um, uh, my marriage is leaving. So what does that mean? Friends that I had for decades gone, just everything. So now I'm like, whoa. And you kind of go into a tailspin because you're like, oh my God, freak out, panic mode. But then I think, okay, if I was the one for 20 years that people called constantly, what do I do? And on the worst day of their life, and I was on it, I knew exactly what to do. I knew exactly how to help them. I knew exactly, how to guide them to resources for them. Surely I can do that for myself.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to center, to, okay, I'm capable. I always know exactly what to do and when to do it. And when I don't, my creator knows. And
Mm-hmm.
I have that strong link. So I'm good. I have my flotation device, no matter how deep the ocean gets.
That's right. Yes, you do. Yeah. So, wow. Well, I like that. I mean, that's fabulous. And yeah, because some people are really good at knowing what everyone else should do, but, you know, they'll say, but I don't know how to do it for me. But really, if we get really honest, we usually can figure out a lot and find a way, like you said, to listen within.
Right, right. Yeah. And your higher self has been telling you forever, leave,
Mhm.
leave, leave. And you're like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. Or it's because we want everything easy. We want everything easy and delivered like a pizza, and, make it easy. But that's not fun. Easy is not fun. You get bored. Like my kids, they complain about school all year long, I'm sorry. And on Monday, every Monday, oh, we have to go to school. And then I remind them, remember in June when it's hot and you're bored out of your mind and you're like, Mom, I'm bored. Remember that feeling, because now you get to go socialize, you get to see
Mhm.
people, you get to experience something new, you get to learn something. So it's we have to find the gold in everything.
Right. Now they're in the second week, right? And are they already
Right.
complaining?
No, actually, it's so funny because I try to feed them positivity, which I need to practice my own advice because I need to do that for myself. And how funny, like you said, we know what everybody else needs, but we don't give it to ourselves, not all the time. And so they're saying, wow, Mom, my teachers are great. It's so easy. They said seventh grade was hard, but I don't have any homework, and like all these positive things. So they always hear me, chanting my positive affirmations. Everything keeps getting better and better for me. Everything's always working out for me. So now they say it and they don't even realize that they're saying it. But I love that I'm programming them that way, because I wish I would have had that at that age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's really good. And, I mean, a lot of the things that were stressful are not so actively in their lives too. So now your influence is able to be even stronger. And I mean, it's probably like a breath of fresh air for them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's very uplifting. And then because they hear me say those things, then when I need it, they remind me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, you're right.
Yeah. Good. Good. So I know that there are many who will hear this who already know that you have been doing quantum healing hypnosis technique and or beyond quantum healing. I don't know how you're describing that. Are you saying that you're doing both?
Yeah, I say I do both, right? So QHHT, the quantum healing hypnosis, is essentially in person, and they trademark that name. So we are by law not allowed to call it that if it's not in person.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond quantum healing is a switch up of that original template that Dolores Cannon created. I love Dolores Cannon, and it's just a new way, a new spin. So beyond quantum healing can be in person, but there's no limits. It can be online. I mean, there's a variety of different ways. And so it's not limited to in person. So you don't have to be in Arizona, in my, city, to get a session with me. We can do it online at your leisure, at it's more convenient. There's more wiggle room. But the QHHT is fascinating too, because I've had amazing sessions with that too. And that's my first love.
Yeah, you have had some of, I mean, just from some of the ones you've shared with me, I'm just, you get a lot of information in these sessions.
It's really interesting, the themes. because I've had my relatives come up in sessions. There was one session that I was going to do that I was contemplating, like, I had tentatively told the client, okay, tomorrow, if, time permitting, because I didn't want to squeeze too much in. And she had a very flexible schedule. So I didn't want to promise something that I couldn't deliver, because I always like them to have lots of room, so we can feel relaxed and not rushed. So I had said tentatively tomorrow. And honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to. And all night long, I kept hearing, do her session, do her session. It would wake me up. And I've had bouts of clairaudience, but I can't control it yet. So it just happens when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hear screaming in my ear to the point where it would wake me up. And just to shut up the voice telling me that, I said, okay, I'll do her session. And I did her session, and I'm thinking, wow, this poor lady, she needs a lot of help. I got to help her. They're even waking me up from my sleep to help her. So I have to. And come to find out, it wasn't even for her. It was for me. It was my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my grandmother on my mom's side wanting to relay messages to me that were urgent, and they wanted me to know. And that's how they wanted to, or I'm assuming that was the only way that they saw that they could come across to me, because they were probably telling me before, but I was ignoring it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we ignore those nudges, those inklings. Well, now they're like screaming, hey, lady, we want you to know this. And so fascinating. And that's happened more than once to me, where they pop up in somebody else's session. I mean, I didn't know this lady. She lived clear across the country. And these things were happening. And I love that. That's so exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, I know you've even done some surrogate sessions, and how much has come through those. And
a lot. And I cracked my biggest skeptic with a surrogate session. I really didn't think that at the time. I do this stuff because it's fun. I love it. It's just so interesting to me. And I experiment a lot. And I mean, I'll experiment on family members, on my kids, on whoever will let me. And if they're willing, like, hey, you want to go on an investigation? Let's go on an adventure. Let's see what happens with this. So in that spirit, just because I'm nosy, and fascinating things have happened. I was guided by my grandmother to do a surrogate session on my husband, and she told me who to use and how to do it. And I followed the guidance thinking, oh, this is ridiculous. And I did it. And in that surrogate session that I did, they guaranteed that he would have his own QHHT session, which again, yeah, right. He's so 3D. He does not believe in any of this. He thinks I'm nuts. That's never going to happen. In 1 month, boom, he agreed. And that blows my mind that he agreed, because they said it's going to happen. I did not believe it. I laughed at it. I'm like, yeah, right. It's not going to happen. And boom, it happened. And I never thought that I would witness that, because he is the most narrow-minded person that I know personally. And because of his trash talking about, oh, you're nuts and all that foo-foo stuff that you watch and you listen to. And he actually said, wow, that felt so real. The water felt so real. Like everything, his body felt so light after it left the body and the life.
Did you initiate it, or did he initiate it? I mean, the fact that it was something someone told you.
He knew that I did it. He knew that I was doing the sessions, and he offered. We're having a conversation. I honestly, I really think that he wanted to kind of like shove it in my face, like, look, this is BS. I think that was the spirit of it. Because I wasn't believing him when he said it. I just agreed to like call his bluff, like, yeah, sure, okay. And then and then like, okay, let's do the session. I'm like, what? So I wasn't believing it. I mean, I prepared because I wanted to do it. Just out of curiosity, like, what's going to happen with somebody like this? Because usually the people that come to me, they're into this stuff. They're like me. They're like you. They're, their mind is expanded to a certain level where
Right.
wow, anything is possible. We live in a limitless world. Like, let's see what happens. But he's not like that. So I was doing it more out of curiosity to see, well, what is he gonna see? What is gonna happen? And it was no different than a session on me or you. I mean, it was pretty magical, and I was blown away. So that's proof not only that the surrogate session works, so you don't need to have that person. Of course, I got permission from his higher self in other sessions before I even did the surrogate, and I really thought about it. It's not something that I just took lightly. And I was told I had a soul contract to do a session on him, and that this would soften him up in order to receive the actual QHHT session, so that it was like a prerequisite, and kind of like Lamaze classes, I would imagine, for the soul.
Yeah.
And so I was following guidance, and I really resisted. I didn't want to do it because I'm thinking, like, am I stepping on somebody's toes? Am I, messing with something that I'm not supposed to be messing with? And I prayed a lot about it. So it took me months before I actually did the surrogate, let alone the actual session.
Well, and really, I think in some ways, doing it with people that we know or family members or where there's old baggage could feel a little more awkward. I mean, I think a lot of people end up doing it on their family and friends, but you just started learning this. What was it
In
this year?
January, in
Amazing.
December 2017, January this year. I mean, and it has, before I even got into any of this, very synchronistically, I discovered Dolores Cannon the same week when I reported the death threat against the police officer, which is what got me fired. I thought I was doing my job. I had been there almost 20 years. I'm thinking, I've never had a write-up. I've never been suspended, nothing. So
Mm.
I'm thinking, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. I have to save somebody's life. I know I'm going home at night, but I don't know if he's going home. And if
Mhm.
I know something that can prevent injury or death to someone, I have an obligation, just as a human being, to intervene, like,
Mhm.
speak up. So I spoke up, and it got me fired. And they used some cockamamie excuse that I had my cell phone, and that's how I received the death threat, so that I was in violation of a verbal directive that they had, some BS rule that was never followed, because I saw the people who put the directive in place always violating it, and others around me, including myself, violating the directive in their presence. And it was never an issue then. But now that somebody's getting fired, now that somebody's life is in jeopardy, now I'm getting fired over something so silly as a phone. Like, how do you compare a phone and a life? That's just ridiculous. And then also, the punishment didn't match the crime. Okay, I have my phone, and I'm wrong. I freely admit that. But then wouldn't that warrant maybe a write-up, suspension, pay cut? I don't know, something not so drastic.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, it's a gift. Thank God I
I'm
don't work there anymore.
sure a lot of people had and have their cell phones.
Oh,
um,
I saw them, and but honestly, even if I had written down the dates and tried to fight it and all this ridiculous stuff, I wasn't willing to waste my energy
mhm.
on a place that did not see my value and my worth.
Mhm.
I wasn't going to do that, because I thought, I don't want to be around you. Like, I don't want to be somewhere where I'm, forcing you at gunpoint. You have to let me be here. Oh no, I don't want to be surrounded by that. So
So yeah.
it was a very eye-opening, and that showed me. And then in meditation, I saw other things, how that was the microcosm, and this is the macrocosm, and that is like this, like, you know, unto expanding my perspective of, that's the little version and this is the big version, and that's just a tiny version of what's really going on in our world. in this time, the spiritual battle between, light and dark. And I always thought when I would hear the word spiritual battle that it was an actual battle out in front of me, like a war, World War III. Everybody's always freaking out about that. Oh my God, this might happen and that might happen. But God told me it's in your head, it's in your heart, it's in your bedroom, it's within you. That is the battle. It's not out there. It's in here.
We first heard you on Shane's show, Unbiased and on the Fence. Was that April when you first were there? March or April of 2018?
I don't even remember, quite frankly. I believe it was March.
I think.
And do you see how fast this has taken off? And now you reminded me why I even brought that up, because the same week that I got in trouble for reporting the death threat is the same week I discovered Dolores Cannon. I started getting visits from a bright red cardinal, a bird that's famous out here in Arizona. I don't know if you have them out there, but this bird followed me in my window. He would fly into my car. He wanted to get my attention. And I'm sure there's been cardinals everywhere around me for the past 20 years that I've lived here, but I never noticed them. And this bird would not leave me alone. And I felt like God was visiting me when this bird caught my attention, and I would dream of this bird. So it came to me in my dreams, in the waking state, constantly. And I kept wondering, what's with this bird? And then I discovered Dolores Cannon, started watching her videos. I was obsessed with her videos. So much knowledge, just a whole new world that I had never even conceived of. But everything that she said was yes, yes. I just knew it. I didn't know how. Yeah, that's right. And I resonated with it so much.
Yeah, and what amazes me, when I first heard you in March, I think it was, or I think it was March. When I first heard you, you were still new, and yet to quantum healing hypnosis, you did not sound new to me. I mean, I just think, look at the one who's very psychic who called on you, Kim.
Oh, Kim, sure. Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful human being, very pure, and called on you. And I am imagining there were others who called on you shortly after that time that you were on Shane's show, because you just gravitated toward this. I mean, you just got it.
I was told to do it. Like I said, I received messages and God told me this is what you're doing. And I didn't see how, because all these obstacles kept popping up. I no longer had a paycheck. So it was just my husband's paycheck. So I thought, okay, well, that's an expensive course. How am I going to pay for it? Mm-hmm. So it was, okay. So then it was a lot of surrendering, which I had never done. So I was, called to surrender and say, okay, if you want me to do this, bring me the way. And long story short, a series of events unfolded from my surrendering, where Dolores herself came up in a reading that I was gifted for my birthday. And she told me exactly what to do step by step, and that she would get me a scholarship to her program. And I thought, okay, like, again, yeah, right, dismissing the magic and being, not believing. And she got me that scholarship, and I got the training and everything after that, everything so synchronistically. I would come to God and I would say, okay, God, this is what I need. Bring it to me if it's meant for me, because I don't want it if it's not meant for me. And as I say this, my red cardinal's in my window. I wish I could turn it around.
Now, huh? I love it.
So see how everything just synchronistically led me to this. And I mean, even in times where I didn't believe, when I told my husband about the scholarship, he had a fit. I mean, he was so mad. He's like, I don't believe in that. And I said, well, who cares what you believe? It's not about you. I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there was a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles, and something within me said, I'm doing this. come hell or high water, I'm doing this. And I did it. And I'm so, like grateful because it opened up just a whole new world to me. And it's so fascinating and fun and just so interesting. And from the very beginning, God always told me, because they don't like for you to do it online. QHHT believes it should only be in person. They think it's dangerous to do it online. And I heard very clearly in my head, that's not true. You're doing it online. That's not true. And I remember hearing these messages in my head and thinking, okay, like I didn't understand why I was hearing that. Or I was just, okay, like you're giving me this information. Like if somebody hands you a box and you're like, what do you want me to do with this? Okay, I'm just going to hold it. I'll just put it here for later. And then later I found out, oh, okay, like this is the road. So don't dismiss the nuggets of knowledge, the wisdom that you're given. Write it down, save it. It might not make sense. Usually it doesn't make sense when you first get it, but reflect on it. Reflect on it later, save it, ponder it, and like widen your perspective. And how could this apply to me? Because everything feels like it feels like we're living in a giant mystery, and everything's a clue for the next clue, for the next breadcrumb, and the next breadcrumb, and you have to like follow them. That's validation.
Yeah, she validated you, all right. Yeah, but that's the other thing that I notice that I love is I'll hear you say, well, this is what I was told originally, or this is how this is done. However, this is what I do, or this is what I found that works. So it sounds to me, without sounding, I don't know, like, I don't take that as egotistical or like you're being rebellious, but you trust yourself. You trust how you're feeling led in an inner way.
Yeah, and I've always had that where it's like me questioning the church when I was 8 and wondering, well, why do I have to, do that? And then seeing how a lot of my friends were being, sexually abused by the priests that we would go to church at. And I'm not saying they all do it, they don't, but I mean, that was the reality I was living in. And then what was happening to me at home. And I thought, whoa, how is that godly? How is that? I just saw the dichotomy in it. And so I always questioned everything. And I mean, that's just me. That's just how I am. I'm not, and I'm teaching my kids to do it just out of survival and out of just people are wrong. I've come across doctors that are wrong. They wanted to put me on 7 medications when I got fired. And I'm thinking, what? For what? Right. Oh, because you're depressed and because you have this and you have low thyroid and you have that. And I'm thinking, so they gave me all the scripts and my husband's like, you're going to take them because you're crazy. So, him siding with the 3D version of everything. And, we went to Walgreens, had the prescriptions filled. I had all the bottles and something in me said, research. So I researched, my symptoms and what's going on. Well, I found out that stress can influence your thyroid. So it's not that you're broken or something's wrong with you. It's stress. Who's going to be doing cartwheels when they're getting fired and their life's blowing up? Nobody. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this is normal. Like when somebody passes away, you grieve. I mean, it's normal. You have emotions. Why are we so fast to stuff everything down and mute it and numb it and ignore it, be quiet, just be happy so I can be happy? Well, you can still be happy and allow me to go through my process.
I knew a couple that they were going through a really rough time in their marriage, and she was always out there doing things for personal growth, and her husband, they were both alcoholics, but he just didn't want to do a lot of things. He really didn't want to go to meetings. He didn't want to work it. He just wanted to go to work and come home and, and think that he had a great marriage. And so when she told him that she wanted out, and she said, I've been growing and changing a lot, and you're not keeping up with me. And he said, he said, can't you ungrow? Can't you
Wow, I can relate to that. Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, some people just refuse to grow. Well, they want it easy.
And that sounds like some of what he gave you. Can't you? You know, what do you mean you're changing? You know, don't change, don't grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I would share everything that I found with him because I like, hey, look what I discovered. But he didn't have the same reaction that I had. Like kind of like what I described. My kids asked me, "What does it mean to be awake?" And the what God told me is, look out the window. What do you see? And if I asked my husband, he would say nothing. And if I asked my son, who's 12, he would say, oh, there's a cardinal. Look at that beautiful palm tree. Oh my God, there's an orange flower. Oh, look at that squirrel. And how different
Yeah. Absolutely.
both perspectives are. Well, the second one is the one where you're awake because you are open to the glory of God. You're open to the magic, the miracles
Mm-hmm.
that we get to bear witness to, the just the beauty of people, the energy. Like I said, every time I talk to you, it's like sunshine. It
Oh.
feels like a gift. So, but see, if you're not awake, you don't know what I'm saying. You
Mhm.
think I'm nuts.
Well, I want to switch up here a little bit. And I know, number one, I know you've been studying astrology and numerology. And I know that you've also been getting a lot of guidance about things coming up. And there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of talk about the event or events or waves and all of this and earth changes and all of that. What do you see, what do you sense is coming up?
I believe there's a split. This has come up in a lot of my sessions lately, and I do sessions constantly, whether I have a client or not. I just love the work. I just love investigating, and I'm nosy, and it's just fun. So I'm always doing a session, whether it's a client, a friend, like, hey, you want to do a session? Sure. And that's my typical Friday night. I mean, I don't, now that I'm in this awakening process, I don't drink anymore. I don't eat meat. I don't eat cheese. I mean, I'm vegan. I mean, and this isn't because I'm taking any kind of a stand or anything. This is what my body is demanding. Like, nope, we don't do that anymore. I can't lie anymore. I can't, there's certain things I can't do. Like, nope, no more revenge, no more this, no more that. We don't do that anymore. So it's like a certain level of integrity that we're growing into, where even if I wanted to do it, my soul will not allow it. Nope, you're going to get really, really sick if you eat that cheese. So, I already know, or it makes me nauseous. So it's not because I'm trying to be a certain way. It's just, I have to.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I've noticed is we're being elevated because even my children are feeling this. And my daughter had a friend over yesterday, a little girl. She's 14. She just started high school. She had her friend over, and we were eating dinner. And I'm thinking, oh, there's somebody from the 3D world that's visiting. What am I going to make for dinner? Because in my from my experience, everybody from the 3D world expects meat, and I don't have any meat in my house. So I'm thinking, what can I make this unexpected guest, for dinner, that they're not going to be like, oh, what's that? So I had some vegan hot dogs. Yes, they make vegan hot dogs. And I made pigs in a blanket, and I just made some pasta, macaroni and cheese, and that's what I fed them, and that's what we ate. But I didn't tell the little girl what it was, because I've noticed when you tell someone what's in the food, kind of like my husband, if I told him it was vegetarian, he would start complaining. But if I didn't say anything and I just made a meal that had no meat in it, he would say, oh, that was delicious. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then later I dropped the bomb. Oh, well, you just ate vegetarian or you just ate vegan. And I just loved springing it on him like, aha, see, it's just a mind thing that you tell yourself that, oh, this is, it's programming. So I wanted to wait for the little girl to finish eating. And so she finished and I said, did you like it? And she's like, yeah, it was really good. Thank you. And I said, well, it was vegan. Those weenies, those pigs in a blanket, they were vegan hot dogs. They were delicious. And
Wow.
she was so excited because she wanted to be vegan, but in her household, they
Wow.
didn't believe in that and it was shunned. No, you have to eat meat because you have to be healthy and you have to eat meat and just the programming and their beliefs. And I'm not judging them because I was like that at one point. But this little girl was so excited and she said, I love this household. And I thought that was so cute. And you see how I was surprised because I didn't expect that reaction at all. As a matter of fact, I was fretting over what to give her because I thought that she expected this
Mm.
because she's from here, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
We were both wrong. And how magical and synchronistic that was. So I feel we are all changing. So I'm noticing this in my kids and in their friends, how their bodies are changing, how their abilities are heightening. The veil is very thin right now astrologically. There's a lot of planets that are retrograde. And a retrograde simply means that instead of the planet going forward, it's just stopped. So you stop. So if you're running a race or a marathon, you stop. You pause. You pause to get water. You pause to towel off. Whatever it is. And so we're in a huge cosmic pause. It's a giant one because there's so many planets that are retrograde right now. So when that many planets or any planet is retrograde, we're being asked to pause and reflect. And a lot of times things from the past will pop up to say, remember this? And is there anything that you want to change about this? Is there anything that you could do different? Is there a new perspective? Do you have more information? Here's another detail that you didn't see in the fine print when this occurred, or secrets being revealed. And it doesn't have to be bad. Sometimes the secrets are good because it could be like, well, I really love you, but I just didn't want to tell you because I was afraid that you'd reject me, or things like that. I mean, when somebody hears the word secret, their stomach drops, mine included, because I think, oh, now what? But it could be positive. Maybe like, oh, you had an aunt that was rich and now you have an inheritance because she passed away. I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
honestly, sky's the limit. It doesn't have to be bad, but it's a lot of new information on old topics. It could be your beliefs being challenged. Like, do you still believe this? Or, who are you? Are you still meat eater Sylvia? Are you still beer drinking Sylvia? Are you still, it challenges who you are. It's kind of like a cosmic test. Like, show me. Okay, you're saying this. This is your statement of what you believe and what you are. Prove it to me, because now I'm going to give you this situation and you're going to have to show me. Don't just talk it, walk it, show me. And it's kind of like it's a big test of faith, because you're being asked to surrender on a massive level. That everything is working out for you. Everything is always working out for you. And in my own life, I just have to keep reminding myself that, because you could fall into fear. It's very easy to fall into fear that everything's falling apart. Well, every ending, something has to end for something new to begin, always. The new can't come in if you're holding, like if you have your hand and you're gripping something. Well, you can't. How are you going to receive it if you're holding on to the old thing? You can't. The universe wants to give you that thing that you keep obsessing over. Okay, well, loosen your grip, let go of the old thing so that I can bring you the new thing. And we're doing that on a cosmic giant level that we haven't experienced before. And we're in the eclipse portal for the next 6 months, and it can go anywhere from 6 months to a year. So, I mean, just because you think, A lot of people that frown on astrology say, oh, well, nothing happened on August 11th at the Leo eclipse, so that means astrology is BS.
Yeah.
Well, it's a window. The window opened.
Right.
Sometimes when you open, like here we have a lot of moths, and if I open my door, I will get like 100 moths in my house.
Oh,
I mean, obviously they're not always going to come in immediately when I open the door. You know, kind of like the javelinas breaking into that lady's trash cans. They call their friends like, hey, there's food over here.
yeah.
So the energy, just because it hasn't smacked you in the face yet, doesn't mean it's not here. And it doesn't mean that the divine isn't orchestrating things behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that it has to feel like a smack in the face for everyone, but it
Right.
feel like a rapid change or upgrade. It may feel like that veil lifting more rapidly.
Right, right. And we're getting a lot of messages because of that time also. So it's very important to go within. We had 3 eclipses back to back. We had one July 12th, we had another one July 27th, and then we had another one August 11th, not to mention the Lionsgate portal on 8/8, August 8th. That happens every year. So it already feels intense with just the Lionsgate by itself or just one eclipse by itself. But now we have all 4 things happening at the same time.
All those,
And on top of that, the 6 retrogrades. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of like a magnet. When you put 2 magnets together, they want to come together and you can't stop that.
mhm.
So surrender. Just surrender at this moment and know that you are being guided. Even when you think you're making a mistake, it's impossible to make a mistake. You can't. But guide yourself with what feels good. Pep talk yourself, because right now it's very easy to feel very low energy because all the planets are paused. There's a lot of you know, hold on, but use this time to daydream, to manifest, to envision, what do I want? What do I really want? Because I guarantee you are not the same Debbie that you were last year, last month, last week. You're completely different. I know I am. Last month I was eating cheese. So I know I'm different, you
Yeah.
know?
So what feels good is that's kind of an interesting question because it may not be that piece of chocolate cake that felt good, tasted good, a month ago or a year ago is what's going to, be good for me, or, what feels good is kind of it's a big question or a little question, but it's may have a very different answer.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, what I've noticed is a big theme in my life and in a lot of people that I know around me. Because first, I use myself as a guinea pig and notice something. I see patterns, and then I see it in other people's lives, and then I'm like, okay, this is a thing, because I'm seeing it everywhere now. And it's so funny because it's easier to ignore when it's just you, but when it's everywhere, you're like, okay, this is a message. It's being I'm being alerted to it for a reason. So I've noticed that we're being asked to let go of our attachments. I had a huge attachment to cheese. I love cheese. And actually, cheese creates like an opiate sensation in our brains. So we are literally addicted to it. So
Hmm.
whether I mean, it's harder to get off of cheese than it is to get off of coffee. And I love coffee. That's the next thing I need to give up. I haven't done that yet. So when I figure that one out, that'll be like, whoa, huge. So for right now, it's cheese, but cheese was really big for me to release. And in talking to friends and family members, there's someone that I know right now that I've been telling for a while. I've been getting the guidance, not telling, just relaying the message. Like, hey, this is what I got. You do with whatever you want with it. I'm the postman. I'm delivering the mail. You do what you want with that letter. I'm not going to infringe on your rights, but this is what I got. And I feel it's my duty to tell you because I love you. And I'm telling you. and you do what you want with it. So I told her, I'm being guided to tell you that you need to stop drinking. Oh, but I'm not an alcoholic. I like the way it tastes, and all the excuses. So I'm like, okay. Again, it kept coming up. Every time I would get the message, I would relay it to them, and they would make all these excuses. Well, then it got to a point where their physical body was shutting down, and they didn't know why. So in my mind, I got alcohol. She needs to stop drinking. So I told her, you need to stop drinking. And she's like, oh, I'm only stopping because I have to have blood work. But as soon as the doctor ordered her to fast for 7 days, no alcohol, just to see if the blood levels would return to normal, platelets, whatever it is that they were testing. And sure enough, it was alcohol. Her liver is damaged.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. So I don't want that for her, but validation for me, I know what I'm talking about. Like, my messages are actually, what bigger validation than that? Whoa, I've been telling you for over a year to stop drinking and you didn't listen to me. And now because somebody wearing a lab coat with a title tells you, now you believe it. Like, why didn't you listen to your body?
Well, because of the addiction, probably. It seems to me that we're being guided, not so much that everything is bad for us, that all these things are bad, but to give up the attachment or the old meanings, the old
Yes.
attachments, addictions to those things. So there may be a day where there is that cup of coffee or piece of cake or that drink, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm in Rome, and right now everyone around me is having this wine, so okay, I'm going to have this. And by then, hopefully the attachment is not such a focus, so it's well, I enjoyed it and I can take or leave it. I think the flexibility of not clinging to the old is part of what's really important.
You said it beautifully. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I meant to say. You're absolutely right. You hit the nail right on the head. That the attachment and what came to my mind, I was shown a little kid, my son actually, on his bike with the training wheels. He was petrified to ride that bike. These training wheels were already falling off. They were so rickety and unbalanced. He wasn't even really using them, but in his mind, he thought, I'm gonna fall if I don't have these training wheels on this bike. So do not take them off because I want to still enjoy my bike ride, but I want that net under me. And I was telling him, you're a big boy. You are fine. You can ride it. And I was watching him like, they're not even touching the ground. You're doing it by yourself, but you don't know that you are. So I feel like the divine is showing us. The divine wants us to see, look at how powerful you are. Because I was called last month for my birthday, of all things, to go on a detox for 7 days. And I thought beforehand, I'm going to die. How am I going to not eat regular food, just, blended spinach, for my meals, and no coffee, no nothing else, no bread, no comfort food, no sugar. And I thought, I'm going to go crazy. Well, it turned out to be, wow, I felt great. I did not miss the coffee. I did not miss the bread. Of course, I wanted it. I wanted to eat what my kids were eating, but I didn't need it.
Yeah.
And that showed me now I can come back to coffee and say, well, I'm enjoying this, but I don't need it. Now I've proven to myself that I don't need coffee. I don't need cheese. Yeah. And those were the biggest obstacles for me. So if I proved it to myself, then I believe that's all we are being guided to see. Some more than others, like this woman that I was mentioning about the wine. She would, she talked herself into thinking, oh, it's just to relax, oh, because I like the taste. And now, well, it's physically, hurting you. Your body is giving you a big message, and it's just going to get worse and worse if you don't listen to it. So listen to the universe, whatever God is telling you in whatever area of your life, not just your body, not just, health things, but emotionally, in your life, with your relationships, whatever it is, pay attention, because I guarantee you, it's that nudge that you've been ignoring. That little pebble, it starts off with a little pebble. Like, I got the little pebble to leave that job years before I got fired. I ignored the pebble.
Yeah.
And then it became a baseball bat. It became a brick.
Yeah. Yeah. But it does sound like the changes that you're sensing that are coming are for our highest good.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
But like my kids, well, when they were small, I mean, they wanted to eat ice cream for breakfast.
mhm.
And I'm thinking, it tastes good, but you're going to feel like crap in an hour.
Yep.
And you're going to get a headache. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to, your body has certain requirements. Yeah, you can add all the other crap on top of it later, but as long as you meet the requirements first, then it
Mhm.
will be good to you. So it's like that. So the universe is saying, look, do this because you're gonna feel better. It's good for you. But we tend to look at everything like a punishment. Like right now, I've been feeling like I'm in this giant cosmic quarantine, and I keep getting shown the image of a fetus inside the mother's womb,
Mm.
and that's what God's telling me that I'm going through. I'm transforming. It's a metamorphosis, but it takes time, and you have to allow for that transformation to occur. Like when like a butterfly, it's not boom, it's a butterfly. Like, it goes through the process, and we're all going through that in a way that you don't understand yet. Like, you may be, and just because you have information doesn't stop it from feeling scary, because I feel scared sometimes too. But that's when you have to fall back on your wisdom, on your experience, and look back on your life. Oh, well, I survived the most horrific, tragic things, in my life. I'm sure to other people, maybe it's not that bad, or they've been through worse. But regardless, everybody has things that they didn't like so much in their life. And you're here now. You survived that. You knew what to do. You knew what to say. You knew where to go. Something bigger than you guided you in those darkest moments.
Yeah.
So now that the veils are so thin, and that these abilities that maybe we ignored, or we didn't know what they were, are surfacing. Like, the divine is right there with us, just waiting on us. We have free will, so they're not going to intervene or interfere, unless we call them in. Sometimes they will, but more often than not, they're waiting on us to say something. Maybe they're thinking, oh, she likes it. She likes the excitement, because after all, we came here for the excitement, for the ride, for the roller coaster, for this ascension. And maybe they think, oh, she doesn't need us. So call in your help, call in your reinforcements. Every morning, I make the decision. You have to be in your stubborn, mode. If we get stubborn about stuff that's bad for us, get stubborn about stuff that's good for you. So every morning I make the decision, no matter how I feel, because a lot of times I don't know, am I feeling my stuff or am I feeling other people's stuff?
Mhm.
I can't tell, but it's very easy to get tricked into thinking it's mine. So with all these energies around, I just make the decision, I'm going to have a good day. I'm deciding today's a great day. And I start naming all the things that I'm thankful for. And, thank you for all the love in my life. And
Mm.
thank you for my health, and for my kids' health, and for water, and for food, and for shelter, and for the beautiful people that I'm meeting every day. And just these amazing opportunities to share my story. I used to be so scared to share my story. I had so much shame and guilt, because I thought, what's wrong with me? I'm broken. I did something wrong. Because the reflection coming back from everyone else was a frown. So I thought, oh, I'm wrong. But then the same question as when I was a kid, how is that wrong if it's the right thing to do? Then, it's showing me, oh, it's just belief systems in different levels. And if I had to repeat that scenario, even if I knew what I know now, and I was getting fired and yelled at by men wearing guns in an interrogation room for hours, even if I knew that I would do it again, because I'm not going to sit there and let somebody be in danger and not say something.
No.
That's just not who I am.
Right. Well, and you've learned to, I think you've learned to feel even like to move from survival. You survived that interrogation, but now you have even more wisdom behind you and within you.
Right. Yeah. And it was just like the movies. I always wondered, like, what's that like? And now I'm wondering, did I manifest that? Because I always wondered, like, what's that like? I wonder what that's like. And now in hindsight, and I think before anything happens, because I remember having like being freaked out as a kid. I was only 19 when I first got pregnant with my daughter, and I was so scared about having a baby and what does it feel like, and it's going to be horrible. And then I remember when labor came on, I mean, yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun at all, and it's painful. But when it was happening, just like the interrogation, oh, this isn't so bad. You're not going to die. I mean, it's not great, but I can handle it. So
Mhm.
I feel, that saying, God will never give you anything that you cannot handle. You have all the equipment, all the tools, all the knowledge, all the experience that you need to face whatever it is that is happening right now.
Mhm.
And if not, he'll bring it to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, absolutely. The experience, the help, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and you are special and deserving just because you're you. You
Mm.
don't have to, it doesn't matter what you did, it doesn't matter what you said, it doesn't matter where you've been. None of that. All that is just stories and labels and programming. None of that matters. All
Right.
that matters is what is in your heart, what is your intention. If you made a mistake, apologize. I'm sorry. And if you have no contact with that person, do it on the etheric level. Imagine that it's happening. Go into a meditation and say whatever it is you need to say. I've done that with my father. I've forgiven my father. I've bawled my eyes out and told him everything that I wanted to say. And that was so cathartic for me, so healing for me to just let that go. Like, okay, you were broken, something happened to you. You were doing the best you could. In your mind, you were a little bit crazy and you thought that, I don't know what you thought. I'm not you, but I forgive you. And now that's not me anymore. That's a story. That was a situation. I don't have to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fascinating. It's we move on energetically, so we don't even need to carry those old stories. That's what it seems to me. It's amazing how.
Right. And um so in that same way that I I showed myself, God showed me, okay, you're not ashamed because of the abuse that you endured as a child. So then why are you ashamed? Because you didn't ask for it, you didn't go seek it, you did nothing. It came to you, right? It was an experience. So
Mhm.
then why would you be ashamed for getting fired? You did nothing wrong. You did the right thing. So shine a light on the dark.
Mhm.
Shine a light. And God said, you need to talk about this. Talk.
Mhm.
And I was so scared. I'm like, no, 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 no. And
Yeah.
God said, you're going to do a YouTube channel. You're
Mhm.
going to talk about it. And I resisted. Oh my goodness. I resisted for so long. I didn't want to show my face. I didn't want to put my name out there. I don't want anybody. I wanted to crawl into a hole and hide. I did not want anybody to know because I felt shame and I felt guilt and I thought I did something wrong because my husband was telling me and all these people that no longer talk to me were telling me, and society and just, it was bombarding me. And I stood up and I faced it and I said, okay. And I went on Shane's show and I talked about it. And that was so scary, but I was so proud. Oh my goodness, I was so proud because now if you look for me online, yeah, you're going to find that crappy article, uh, you know, sharing my story and what happened. and I'm not saying the article was crappy. God bless the woman who did the article for me. I love her. But I'm saying the situation was crappy. What they did was crappy. But now I also share my side. So you're going to find a lot of me telling my version, what really happened,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the ugly. So we shine a light on it. So you shine a light on the abuse, you shine a light on the corruption, you shine a light on all these things, and have no shame, because I mean, why? And I've helped so many people in sharing my story. Now I see God's plan. Oh, this is why you wanted me to do it. Because you only get the little nudge, the do this, but you just don't know why. Well, you have to trust that nudge, because there's a bigger plan at work. And maybe that's your path. Maybe that's how you heal someone else. Maybe that's how I had to heal myself, by healing someone else. By sharing my story, that is healing me, that is healing others, and it's reciprocal. Like the sessions, I was told that in every session we open up a portal, and the same healing that the client gets is the healing that you need. So it's symbiotic. We're sharing space. It's a sacred space, and whatever they're getting, you're getting, and you're giving to each other. It's like you're holding hands,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sharing it. And if it's online and they're in another country, God showed me how we are healing everyone in the path. And I thought, wow, how magnificent to share this with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a session with a woman in London. So I could only imagine that path, the path of the healing that was taking place. And we were the conduits. We were serving the light by doing that. We thought we were just having fun and taking advantage of this modality. But all the people I was shown that were being healed in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even know it.
Right, right. So tell us about your YouTube channel.
It's called Odyssey of Enlightenment, and my daughter came up with that name. I remember I just wrote out a bunch of words that sounded beautiful, and she picked it. She made a painting of the red cardinal that I kept seeing. She gifted it to me for Mother's Day, and that is my logo. And later I found out that that is Dolores Cannon's logo, and I never knew that. I never knew it. The whole time this bird's been coming to me, and how beautiful the story is woven together. And I didn't find this out till now. And I mean, it's been a while. 2015 was a while ago, and I'm just finding out now. And how beautiful. It makes it even more magical. So it's called Odyssey of Enlightenment. I do a daily rune casting where I receive information, and I just put a picture of the rune that I'm drawn to. And a lot of it, sometimes it's like the traditional meaning for the rune, but other times it's a mix of the message that I'm receiving. And how funny, every time I put out the message, I always doubt myself, and I put it out anyway. And then later I will find physical validation in other ways, repeating the same message that I just put out. Somebody else will mention in a conversation, in a phone call, in a text, in an email, and I'll see the same words repeated. And sometimes like word by word, and I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. So it's so synchronistic how I'm being shown, look, you're just follow your gut. Listen to it. And I have other little shows. I've started a little series of people sharing their awakening story, and I hope to have you on there, Debbie. I would love to hear your story.
Yes, we will do it.
So please check it out, subscribe if you like it, and share it. I'm here to spread light. My goal, my mission is to relieve suffering, because I going through that experience was the darkest of the dark that I have ever felt. There were times when I wanted to take my own life. I contemplated it. I never did it because part of me knew that there was a bigger plan. So my faith, thank God for my faith, because that really helped me out of that pickle. It was a big one. But I know how it feels. So it's kind of like this journey has been the path of the shaman, healer, heal thyself, so that then I know the recipe. I know what it feels like. there's a Native American story that this young man goes to an elder shaman and he says, I want to be like you. Show me how to be like you. I want to be a shaman. And he says, well, you need to go out and get dirty, live a little, go do drugs, go have sex, go cheat on someone, go lie, go steal something, go get into a fight. And the kid is looking at him like, what? You're like the most pristine, pure person I know. And you're telling me to go do all this horrible stuff? And he says, because you need to live life and then get out of the pickle, find some pickles, get out of them, and then come back to me, because you're no good to me like this. You need to, how can you tell someone how to drive if you've never driven? How can you tell someone how to cook if you've never cooked?
Yep. Well, yeah, I think living is what brings empathy,
Right.
just has intellectual understanding. No, 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 that's not the same, but
No.
really living and feeling and going through and moving through various situations, and they don't have to be the same, but to get to the emotional understanding, the emotional experience.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, that's worth its weight in gold. And you don't have to have a PhD or training of any sort to do anything.
mhm.
Research it. Now we live in a society where everything is at our fingertips. If you have internet, you have the world in your hands. You can look anything up. You can find a video on how to cook. You can find a video on waking up. You can find a video about QHHT, anything.
Mhm.
And you could teach yourself. You don't need to pay for anything. You don't need to, all it requires is your interest, your intrigue. Let
Mhm.
your intrigue guide you.
Well, you've expanded on all of this with things that you've gone and explored, and I mean, your numerology and your astrology and other things that you just, and becomes part of your deck, your deck of cards that you use when you're out there doing life and helping others.
Right, like your tool belt. You're just putting more tools. And honestly, I didn't go into astrology. I taught myself from watching videos on YouTube, and I saw the patterns, and I was fascinated with it because at the same time I'm discovering Dolores Cannon, I'm discovering astrology, and I was always interested in astrology, but never really paid a lot of put a lot of energy into it. It was just something that seemed cool, but I didn't really delve into it. Well, when this happened, when I got fired, I I wanted to figure out what the heck is going on. There has to be an explanation. There has to be a logical reason. And so I taught myself how to read my chart. I
Mhm.
taught myself what the houses meant. Then I saw when I was gifted a session with Kat Kinney. She's a numerologist and she calls it cosmic numerology. And that's where Dolores Cannon came through in that session. So if anybody's interested, check her out. She's amazing. She's on Facebook and she does numerology. And I started with my new knowledge of astrology and her giving me the reading. I saw how numbers carried
Mm.
a signature and how it was exactly like the astrological houses, how the fourth house is ruled by Cancer. That's your home, that's your family. And so the four carries that vibration. And all the other numbers, I started seeing a pattern, and the pattern was being reflected in the numerology. And I saw how they all fit together, and it was fascinating to me. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a numerologist or I'm going to be an astrologist. It's just,
Just
it's interesting. It's just cool. And I
yeah,
love it. And how funny, like it's a spice that you can add to your cooking and it makes it more interesting.
you bet. And how can people get a hold of you if they want either a session or to know more about any way that you might help them?
I have the YouTube channel called Odyssey of Enlightenment, or you can Google me. My name is Sylvia Molera, Molera, or my email is the best way, is silmolera@gmail.com. That's S as in Sam, Y as in Young, L as in Lincoln, M as in Mary, O as in Ocean, L as in Lincoln, E as in Edward, R as in Robert, A as in Adam, @gmail.com. And that's my law enforcement training. We had to speak phonetically.
Yeah.
So how funny, everything just blends together. And I feel like everything before this was preparation for now.
Bet. You bet.
It's a
Is there,
puzzle piece.
yes, absolutely. Is there anything I didn't ask or that you didn't get to talk about that you want to get to talk about before we go?
No, we've covered everything, but I would love to chat with you again.
Oh, definitely.
We
Oh,
could talk for hours. I could talk to you for days on end.
oh, you bet. You bet. Oh, I think we'll do this a lot because I really want you to come and tell us more about either, what is coming up and what do we need to do to be either prepared or to be able to move with the various kinds of
The
energy
changes.
waters
Mhm.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah, if we could end off on some tools that I use personally.
Yeah.
So the way I start my day every day is set the intention. Today is going to be a great day. So I just decide it because we are master creators. You're more powerful than you think. So, and honestly, when I first started doing this, I felt silly, but I was guided. Everything that I do, I'm guided by a higher power to do it. So I think, okay, I'm just going to do it. Like, it's an experiment. Like, that's what I tell my ego. So I decide that it's going to be a great day. I start naming off the things that I'm grateful for. Thank you. The things, that, that are around me that I have right now. And then future tense, I say, and for all that continues to come to me. So I affirm already that yes, I have this right now, but I am getting more constantly because
Hmm.
I want to put that out into the universe that I'm receiving, you know, more constantly, and not in a hoarding or greedy manner, but in to keep it fluid and always having the resources that I require.
Hmm.
So I set that intention. I decide it's going to be a great day. I'm grateful. I do shielding and protecting, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to have any weird Harry Potter powers. Just imagine it. Imagine a bubble around you, a white light. In QHHT, we use the white pyramid of protection. You can imagine a white pyramid that's sparkly and shimmery all around you. You could put around your kids, around your pets, around your home, around your car. And I just shield everything because we live in a dualistic world. It's a dualistic reality. Both exist, light and dark.
Hmm.
So I'm just stacking the chips in my favor, so to speak, to ensure that all goes smoothly. That doesn't mean that things aren't going to pop up, but I want to stack it in my favor from the very beginning so that then it's like packing things you need for a trip. So you want to have a great trip. So, we might get thirsty. I'm going to pack some water. I'm going to pack some chips if we get hungry, whatever. So it's that same perspective.
Hmm.
And so I do the protection. And then when I'm feeling really bad, I do take the Bach flower rescue relief remedy. I think I'm probably butchering the name. You know what I'm talking about? The
Yep.
Bach flower rescue remedy.
Hmm.
Is that what it's called? Am I saying it wrong?
No, you got it. That's right.
And they're drops that
Hmm.
greatly reduce anxiety.
Hmm.
I have a lot of Uranus and Mercury in my chart, so I'm very I suffer from insomnia sometimes and anxiety. So those drops help me calm down immediately. They're magical. I wish I had known about them for before. And you can give them to your kids. You can give them to your pets. People usually buy them for their pets for like the 4th of July so they don't freak out. Or if they're going on a plane ride or somewhere, so the pet doesn't freak out, so they're calm and completely natural.
Hmm.
And so I use those. Epsom salt bath, soaking in an Epsom salt bath, hot water for 40 minutes. So 20 minutes is to release any impurities. We're energy. It's not just your physical body. You have an emotional body, you have a mental body, you have an etheric body, and it goes on and on. So this salt uh, is it clarifies everything. It purifies, it detoxes you. So it removes dark, dense energy. So soaking in the tub for 40 minutes. So 20 will detox you, and you want it hot so you could sweat. And then 20 will absorb the magnesium in the Epsom salt. So it's a muscle relaxer. It helps you relax. You feel better. You're calmer. And it's a mood lifter because magnesium lifts your mood. Then also drinking water. Drinking lots of water. If you put a slice of lemon in it, it'll alkalize it. And water helps you process negative emotions. And that's what you do to release negative emotion. You cry, and you're crying salt water. So if you drink water, you're helping your body have what it needs, and then you're releasing toxins in the tub. You can program your water. You can program your bath water. I program everything. I write love on my water bottle. I speak love or empowerment, whatever it is that I want in that moment, and I program that water. That's all it is. You just do it. You say it. You write it, and boom, it's done. And it's that simple. And people tend not to do it because they think, oh, that's ridiculous. That's so simple. That's like little kid stuff. Well, what if it's true? What if it's true, and how simple? And hey, I want that. If it's actually a thing, I want some of that magic. So I do that. And in my bath water, I pray over it. And I ask the water to heal me. I imagine white light going into the water, and I tell it what I need. And I always feel better when I get out of that tub.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I add baking soda to mine as well.
Ooh, I'm going to try that.
A bit.
And how much? How much baking soda?
Probably a cup or so. I
Mm.
mean, yeah. And it just, the combination, I just love that combination.
I'm going to try that. With the Epsom salt, I use 3 handfuls. And I bless the salt when I'm putting it into the water. I bless the water, and I ask God to cleanse, clear, and purify any energy less than love. I always say that because we only want love. So that encompasses all the yucky. You don't have to go through a laundry list of negative emotions, because then then you start thinking about them, and you don't want to be in that vibration. So I just say any energy less than love. And I mean, I light incense every day. Ensure that your atmosphere is as high vibrational and as yummy as possible. You want it to be, conducive to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Great.
And those are things we can do right now, and they're easy. They're accessible to most people. And if you don't have Epsom salt, you can use regular salt.
Yep.
You can use sea salt. I mean, don't limit yourself.
Right.
The Epsom salt is ideal because of the magnesium.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or even setting the intention in your bath water. You can program just regular water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. That's great. Wow. Good stuff. Well, we'll definitely do this again. And I thank you so much for being with me today doing this.
Oh, thank you. What an honor. I loved it. It felt like 2 minutes.
Oh, I know. It's been almost 2 hours. How about
Wow. Wow.
that? Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. Let's see if I can. Oh, no, I'm in the wrong window. Let's see. We're going to stop recording.